Tonight on News at 9, London fire, pandemonium in the British capital with 6 confirmed dead and over 70 hospitalised in a tower block fire.
First at 9, this is Other Derana 24/7.
Also making headlines tonight, media ethics. The president says state media institutions should lead the way to create an ethical media culture. Measures to end extremism. The government to introduce new laws if necessary to curb extremism. Garbage stings again. Piles of garbage accumulates across the city of Colombo. And in sports, Champions Trophy post-mortem. Sri Lankan skipper takes responsibility for team's dismal performance at the tournament. Over 6 confirmed dead and scores injured and hospitalized as a fire broke out on the Grenfell Tower this afternoon. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mahesh Johnny. We will have a full report on the fire in the British capital later on in the bulletin, but now we begin here at home. President Maithripala Sirisena says that the state media should take the initiative to create an ethical and qualitative media culture in the country. He expressed these views at a ceremony to open the new administrative building complex of the independent television network today.
President Maithripala Sirisena graced the occasion as the chief guest. Minister of Finance and Mass Media Mangala Samaraveera, Minister of Lands and Parliamentary Reforms Gayantha Karunatilaka and other dignitaries were also in attendance.
We are
now experiencing media freedom as never before seen in this country. The freedom is such that the very person who gave that freedom is the one being attacked. Although that is the case, we would not attempt to oppress media. Certain people who cannot come to power through an election are attempting to incite extremism and separatism. We should all stand against any such factions, irrespective of their religious beliefs. We should implement the rule of law while safeguarding the reputation of Buddhism.
අන්තවාදී පුද්ගලයන්ට එරෙහිවාද අපි සියලු දෙනාම පෙළ ගැහෙන්න ඕනේ.
මේ රටේ රාජ්‍ය මාධ්‍ය
The most unethical use of state media in the country's history was witnessed during my arrival as the common candidate. No other leader or candidate endured the insults I did during that period. I'm happy that the country knows that they stooped so low as to attack me because I posed a challenge to them, even though I came from humble beginnings. State media should guide private media within the paradigm of media ethics. The media is capable of hatching a better political culture, and media institutions have a bigger responsibility in this endeavor than politicians.
දේශපාලකයින්ට වඩා එහි වගකීම තිබෙනවා මාධ්‍ය ආයතනවලට.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Naval Staff of the Pakistan Navy, Admiral Muhammad Zakaullah, met President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday. During the meeting, the President thanked Pakistan for the close cooperation of late, and the pair exchanged mementos to commemorate the occasion.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasises that the government will introduce new laws if necessary to bring to book those who are culpable of extremism. The Premier made these remarks in a special statement at the Temple Trees today.
Cabinet decided to direct police on taking legal action against those who are violent towards any religion or community. This is the confirmation of our stance. As a Sri Lankan, I respect all religions and cultures. We cannot be true Sri Lankans if we look down upon or hate other religions and cultures. We have given instructions to the police to take measures against those who have vandalized several mosques and businesses. We also instructed the police to arrest those who are violent against any religion or culture and produce them before court. If necessary, we will introduce new laws to this end.
In one of our headline stories, the Supreme Court has decided to take up the fundamental rights petition filed requesting an order stopping garbage being dumped at the Mutharajavela Reserve on the 20th of July. The relevant petition was filed by 35 residents of Mutharajavela. Meanwhile, garbage has now been collected in Colombo over several days, and garbage could be witnessed piling up at roadside at great inconveniences to the public.
Colombo was developed with its ancient buildings renovated along with the infrastructure to transform the city into a tourist hub. Such efforts earned Colombo the accolade of being the fastest growing city in the world during the past 6 years in census conducted by MasterCard. Yet today, those who visit Colombo can witness garbage being piled up roadside and at the most preferred tourist spots. Other Derana went around the city of Colombo and noticed improperly disposed piles of garbage at various locations.
Garbage has been piling up in nooks and corners in the heart of Colombo for weeks. It is not only the locals who are affected by the garbage, but also the tourists who visit Sri Lanka in search of the wonder of Asia.
This heap of garbage has been here for more than 1 week. No one responsible looked into the matter. This is a place that is frequently visited by tourists. A lot of tourists were seen leaving the place following a garbage pile-up. When they pass this place, they cover their noses.
Some, however, gave us an alternative view on the matter.
Worms are all over this place. The garbage is rotten and the odor spreads everywhere. The main reason for this is the restaurants over there not separating their garbage. So the garbage collectors refuse to accept it. Yesterday, they took away some of the garbage that was separated. They left behind what was not separated. We have our lunch inside the three-wheeler. There are over 100 houses over there. These houses are filled with flies.
The monsoons in effect over the country make the garbage issue much worse than what meets the eye. Approximately 800 tons of garbage is accumulated within the city of Colombo on a daily basis, with it all piling up. The people are faced with a number of health issues, including dengue, with Sri Lanka recently winning the title of the leading tourist destination in Asia at the World Travel Awards. Garbage is threatening to knock the country off its mantle.
Chief Minister of the Northern Province, C.V. Vigneshwaran, has ordered Provincial Ministers T. Gurukula Raja and P. Ayanganeshwaran to resign from their posts today. Ministers of Education and Agriculture, respectively, Gurukula Raja and Ayanganeshwaran, were asked for their resignations at a special Provincial Council meeting.
The report of the investigation conducted against 5 ministers in the Northern Provincial Council was produced today. With the agreement of the representatives of the Northern Province, the investigation was carried out by a tri-member committee to probe accusations levelled against the ministers. According to the report, the accusations against Minister of Education in the Northern Province, T. Gurukula Raja, and Minister of Agriculture in Northern Province, P. Ayanganeshwaran, were proven to be true. Accordingly, Chief Minister Vigneshwaran had ordered the 2 ministers to resign from their posts and to hand over their letters of resignation tomorrow. He has also ordered the Minister of Health, P. Satyalingam, Minister of Transport and Fisheries, D. Denishwaran, to temporarily resign from the posts until the rest of the investigations are over.
Auditor General H.M. Gamini Vijayasinghe revealed that the direct placement system of the central bank has not been audited for the last 8 years. He made these remarks before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the bond issuance of the central bank today.
Auditor General Gamini Vijayasinghe appeared before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing central bank bond issuance for a 3rd consecutive day and was cross-examined by attorneys representing Perpetual Treasuries and Deputy Governor P. Samarsiri. Attorney-at-Law Harsha Fernando, representing the Deputy Governor, brought the Commission's attention to the Auditor General's detailed report on direct placement. The Auditor General had compiled the report based on answers gathered by a questionnaire to the Central Bank as per a request by then Finance Minister Ravi Karnanayaka. Replying to an inquiry by Justice Prasanna Jayawardena, the Auditor General explained that his department had not audited the direct placement system related to bond issuances at the Central Bank for the last 8 years. Gamini Vijayasinghe added that the Central Bank did not initially cooperate in releasing information related to the Public Debt Department, which is worth 4.7 trillion rupees, following an order by the Attorney General. However, Attorney-at-Law Harsha Fernando produced the document related to the said order, which did not obstruct the provision of information to the Auditor General. Auditor General H.M. Gamini Vijayasinghe will reappear before the Presidential Commission tomorrow.
More local news on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Straight to London. Fire engulfed a 24-storey apartment block in the West London in the early hours of the morning, trapping residents inside the burning tower and killing at least 6, with the death toll expected to rise. 20 people are currently in critical condition out of 70 hospitalised so far, but many are unaccounted for. The London Fire Chief declared the blaze a major incident as all floors from the second up were engulfed and at least 200 firefighters backed up by 40 fire engines fought the inferno for hours.
Flames licked up the side of the block in the North Kensington area and plumes of black and grey smoke billowed high into the air over the British capital hours after the blaze broke out at the Grenfell Tower on Latimer Road. The leader of Kensington and Chelsea Borough, Nick Paget-Brown, said that the tower block contains about 120 flats and there would have been several hundred people in the block when the fire broke out shortly after midnight. The Nottingdale ward councillor Judith Blakeman, who lives across the road from the block, said that between 400 and 600 people live in the building. Some residents who escaped said that no fire alarm sounded, and witnesses said that they saw trapped residents shouting for help from windows on upper floors.
Yeah, there was smoke everywhere, literally everywhere. There was people downstairs, there was bits of the block, the cladding falling off the block, that was on fire, people screaming.
An inferno, a tower inferno, it was just spreading. Hey, I mean, there's got to be so many fatalities in this one that's just happened. I see the kids banging on the windows screaming, it was horrendous.
Meanwhile, the London Fire Brigade were able to rescue large numbers of residents from the building, but London Mayor Sadiq Khan said that fire crews only managed to reach the 12th floor at the height of the fire. The cause of the blaze is as yet unknown, and investigations into it are at a very early stage.
In local news, President Maithripala Sirisena has appointed former ambassador to Germany and Switzerland as well as High Commissioner to South Africa, senior lawyer Sarath Kongahage, as a president's media consultant. He was also appointed as the chairman of the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute recently and took office on the 9th of June. He has served as the chairman of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation as well, and as acting chairman and the director of the editorial of Lake House. Sarath Kongahage also has experience in radio. Despite the 30-year-long conflict with the LTTE coming to an end 8 years ago, the UK government has issued a revised travel advisory on Sri Lanka, requesting British nationals visiting the island to remain vigilant as the threat of terrorism cannot be ruled out. According to the official website of the UK government, attacks could be indiscriminate, including in places visited by foreigners.
Advisory requested British nationals to avoid military areas and high security zones. It further noted that there is a heightened threat of terrorist attacks globally against UK interests and British nationals from groups or individuals motivated by the conflict in Iraq and Syria. The official Facebook page of the British High Commission added that this has been done as part of a global review of the way the threat from terrorism is described in the UK government's travel advice for British nationals, and changes were made to ensure that they have clear information on this important issue. In response to a request for clarification from Derana, a spokesperson from the British High Commission noted, quote, "The changes amend the way we describe the terrorism threat. They do not reflect an assessment by us that the level of threat in Sri Lanka has changed," unquote.
In other local stories, during the cabinet media briefing held today, the core cabinet spokespersons were grilled on the whereabouts of Venerable Galapura Atte Gnanasara and the measures taken by the government towards his arrest.
There is no need for ministers to hide anyone. All we wish to do is carry out law and order. The cabinet conducted lengthy discussions on the matter in order to promote reconciliation and coexistence. We wish to make it clear that we will take necessary action against those who instigate violence. Let us allow the police to enforce the rule of law and not take it into our own hands.
Minister of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine Dr. Rajitha Senaratna also commented on the matter.
As ministers, we should be taking action. Investigations are being carried out on all recent incidents and the government will come to a conclusion as to what is the next course of action.
Meanwhile, the fundamental rights petition filed by the General Secretary of the Budubala Sena, Venerable Galabuda Tenyana Thera, which requests his arrest be prevented, will be taken up on the 22nd of this month upon order of the Supreme Court. The OIC of the Organised Crimes Prevention Division named as one of the respondents of the case. Through the petition, the Thera states that the Organised Crimes Prevention Division, which is conducting an investigation against him pertaining to inciting communal disharmony, is attempting to arrest him without a proper investigation. A case was filed against Jnanasara Thera by the then Home Agama magistrates Ranga Dasanayaka for disrupting court proceedings when the case pertaining to the disappearance of journalist Pragith Eknaliagoda was taken up at the court. In other local stories, U.S. Navy sailors who arrived on board the USS Lake Erie is currently engaging in flood relief activities in several parts of the country. They are engaging in cleaning of wells, which is the source for safe drinking water in many parts of the country. Several areas that were inundated by floodwaters saw wells being contaminated. Over 30 U.S. Navy personnel, coordinated by the Sri Lanka Red Cross and the U.S. Embassy here in Colombo, are engaging in this activity in the districts of Kaluthara, Gaul, Mathura and in certain parts of Colombo where floodwaters devastated regions. Another looming postal strike and a census on housing is also making news across Sri Lanka. And let's take a look at that in News in Brief. Minister of Housing and Construction Sajith Premadasa says that 400,000 rupees will be given for housing under the Udagammana housing project initiated by his ministry. The minister stated this while addressing the media at the UNP headquarters in Sirikutha today. Furthermore, the minister stated that according to a census conducted by his ministry, over 2.5 million families do not have the means of permanent housing thus far. The Phase 2 of the Manusab Derana humanitarian initiative by the Derana Media Network got underway today as well. School supplies were distributed to flood-affected school children in the Ratnapura district today. Plan International has partnered with Manusab Derana on this endeavour and so far has managed to distribute supplies to 475 school children at the Sumana Mahavidyalaya in Ahaliyagoda. Today is the second day of the token strike by the Postal Service. Over 300,000 letters are kept at the Central Exchange without being distributed. Talks between the trade unions and the Postmaster General Rohana Abiratna, along with the State Minister of International Trade Sujiva Senasinghe, has failed, and the Joint Postal Trade Union Front says that they will seek another strike on the 26th of this month if no solutions are being provided by the government. A 33-year-old man has been arrested last night by the Excise Department for possessing heroin worth 3 million rupees. Business news is on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira says that despite former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's criticism of the country regaining the GSP Plus facility, he also attempted to retain it in 2010. The minister was reacting to the former president's statement on the 11th of June, which called on the government not to create unrealistic expectations about GSP Plus among the public.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa stated that fulfilling the conditions to qualify for GSP Plus could cause permanent damage to a country's political, legal and institutional framework, and added that it was the reason he allowed GSP Plus to be withdrawn in 2010. He further stated that programs should be started to help businesses prepare for the inevitable transition to a future without EU trade concessions through diversification of products and markets. In response, Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira stated that the former president is clearly trying to distort facts. Samaravira stated that Sri Lanka is close to reaching the threshold of an upper middle income country and that a country has to be classified as such by the World Bank for 3 consecutive years in order to no longer be eligible for GSP Plus concessions. He said that Sri Lanka will have access to the benefits of GSP Plus for 3 years even if the threshold is reached immediately, and for 1 additional year following the decision of its withdrawal. Minister Samaraweera added that the European economy is starting to show signals of growth recovery, so it is a good time to enhance the partnership with the European Union. He further criticizes the idea that GSP Plus puts Sri Lanka under the supervision of the EU as simply absurd.
Sri Lankan Airlines has announced the launch of 3 additional flight routes to southern Indian cities of Hyderabad, Visakhapatnam and Coimbatore in July this year, increasing the number of cities in the Indian market to 14. Flights to Visakhapatnam, Hyderabad and Coimbatore are scheduled to start on the 8th, 12th and 16th of July respectively. Sri Lankan currently operates 108 flights per week to Chennai, Trichy, Trivandrum, Mumbai, New Delhi, Gaya, Madurai, Varanasi, Kochi, Bangalore and Kolkata. India is Sri Lanka's largest tourism market and accounts for 356,729 visitors to the island in 2016, while 110,891 arrived in the first 4 months of 2017. Sri Lankan Airlines will also commence daily non-stop services to Melbourne from October 29th of this year, which will provide rapid connectivity between Australia and key Indian cities. Into international markets, oil prices fell today after industry data showed a build in US crude stocks and OPEC reported a rise in its production despite a pledge to cut output. Brent crude was down 36 cents a barrel at $48.36 and US crude was 45 cents lower at $46.01. Crude prices have fallen more than 10% since late May, pulled down by heavy global oversupply that has persisted despite a move led by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries to curb production. OPEC and other exporters such as Russia have agreed to keep production almost 1.8 million barrels per day below the levels pumped at the end of last year and not to increase output until the end of first quarter of 2018. In your stock update, Colombo equities rebounded today amid increased participation from the domestic investors. The ASI closed at 6,669.73 with a gain of 21.33 index points, and S&P SL 20 index closed at 3,872.66, gained 28.31 index points. Market turnover was 11 billion rupees and John Keel's holdings contributed 497 million rupees to the turnover. Foreign investors continue to be on the buying side and the net foreign inflow was 19 million rupees. The foreign participation accounted for 36% of the turnover. We now have the daily market update with Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
Top 5 gainers of the day were Haris Chandra Mills, Serendip Land, Dunamis Capital, Malan Phipps and First Capital Holdings, while the top 5 losers were PC House, Blue Diamonds Non-Voting, Brack Lanka Finance, Kotamale Holdings and City Housing and Real Estate.
The Sri Lankan rupee edged lower today and the dealer said demands for the dollars from importers surpassed selling of the greenbacks by exporters. Rupee forwards were active with spot next forwards trading at 152 rupees and 95 cents to 153 rupees and 05 cents per dollar, weaker from yesterday's close. Here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies today. On to sports now. The Sri Lankan cricket team faced the media earlier today following their disappointing loss in the ongoing ICC Champions Trophy. Having upset India in their second game of the tournament, Sri Lanka was one win away from a semi-final berth but failed to beat Pakistan in order to qualify.
Addressing media, Sri Lanka skipper Angelo Matthews said the whole team was disappointed with the early exit and the team takes responsibility for it.
We take full responsibility as a whole team. I would like to urge all of you not to grab a few players. We as a team, we are all responsible, and most importantly, I am responsible.
කිසි කලකිරීමක් නැහැ. මොකද මම ඕන තරම් උඩ පන්දුව අතහැරලා තියෙනවා. උඩ පන්දුවක් ගිලුණා කියන එක තරංගයේ පරාජයට හේතුවක් නෙමෙයි. තමයි මම කඩළු නොගත්තා නම් කවුද මට කියන එකක් නැහැ. ඔයා කඩළු ගත්ත නිසා මැච් එක පරාදුනා කියලා. නමුත් උඩ පන්දුවක් මිස් වුණාම කියන ඒක නිසා මැච් එක පරාදුනා කියලා. ෆීල්ඩින් කෝච් එක බයින කච්චා මිස් වුණොත් ඇල්ලුවොත් ෆීල්ඩින් කෝච් හොඳ කියන්නේ නැහැ.
Also in cricket, Sri Lankan legend Kumar Sangakkara scored his 100th century in all formats last evening, helping his county team Surrey to a 24-run win over Yorkshire in the Royal London One-Day Cup quarter-final. Sangakkara piled on 121 runs before he was dismissed, taking his season's tally to 8 centuries spread across the Royal London Cup and Championship cricket. The maestro has played 256 first-class games and 526 List A matches and has a total of 39 List 100s to go with further 61 first-class tons. More cricket. The semi-finals of the ICC Champions Trophy began in Cardiff earlier today with host England taking on Pakistan. England were held to 211 by Pakistan, who are currently on 187 for the loss of 2 wickets.
England were put into bat and started brightly before being pegged back by the loss of Alex Hales for 13. Johnny Bairstow and Joe Root both looked sharp but fell in the 40s, and skipper Owen Morgan and Ben Stokes found fast scoring difficult. England couldn't accelerate after Morgan's dismissal for 33, and wickets fell at regular intervals as England stuttered to 211.
Ball off the Griggs.
International news is on the other side of this break. Stay with us. On to international news now. Senior BJP leaders will meet Congress President Sonia Gandhi and CPM General Secretary Sitaram Yechury on Friday to discuss the upcoming presidential election. Union Ministers Rajnath Singh and Venkaiah Naidu, who are part of the 3-member committee constituted by the BJP to pick a candidate for the election, will reach out to the opposition and hope to arrive at a consensus on the issue. The 2 BJP leaders today briefed Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the election, which takes place on the 17th of July, with President Pranab Mukherjee's term ending on the 24th of July. Into the U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions yesterday denounced as an appalling and detestable lie the idea that he colluded with Russians' interference in the 2016 presidential elections. Sessions testified publicly before the Senate Intelligence Committee about his dealings with Russian officials and whether he intentionally misled Congress on the matter.
U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions had a series of tense clashes with lawmakers during the 2.5-hour testimony, refusing to answer several questions posed by Democrats.
I am not stonewall. You don't walk into any hearing or committee meeting and reveal confidential communications with the President of the United States.
When pressed on further contacts with Russian officials by Senator Harris of California, Sessions was vague.
Recall it. But I have to tell you, I cannot testify to what was said as we were standing at the Republican convention before the podium. I'm not able to be rushed this fast. It makes me nervous.
Also in the U.S., a top U.S. Republican politician has been shot during a congressional baseball team practice in Virginia. U.S. media reports that several people, including House of Representatives Majority Whip Steve Scalise, were hit and wounded by the gunfire. Police confirmed that there is no further threat and the gunman has been taken into custody. Time to take a look at the weather. Let's cross over to Katharina Chang, who's at the Weather Centre.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, areas of Katunayaka, Colombo as well as Ratmalana can expect heavy rains in the next 24 hours, while thunder showers expected in the central region of the island, particularly Nuwara, Bandaravela and Badulla. Slight drizzle can be expected in the western, Sabragamu and central provinces and districts of Gaul, Mathura and Putlam. Fairly strong winds of about 50 km per hour can be expected over the northern province. Let's now take a quick look at the city-by-city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. In the Variamuatha, we'll join you tomorrow with our news at 9. Be sure to join us then. Before we go, we take you tonight to the ancient capitals and show you the beauty of the cities of Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa. Anuradhapura, known as ancient Sri Lanka's first kingdom, and at that time remained one of the most stable and durable centers of political power and urban life in South Asia. Meanwhile, the second most ancient of Sri Lanka's kingdoms, Polonnaruwa, was first declared the capital city by King Vijayabahu. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.